So as you can see now in this chart, Bitcoin's historical corrections, although it doesn't have the latest correction, this is the last correction was in May 17, 2021, which would have been a year ago from the point we're at right now, actually 13 months ago. The Bitcoin itself is in a separate class than crypto is. Bitcoin is a currency, crypto is everything else. That is how people are relating to this. Now you can see that, again, as we've gone over this several times, originally back in 2012, it dropped 42%. In 2012, again, it dropped 56%. In 2013, it dropped 32%, 35%, 82%, and almost 50%. So it dropped 4 times in 1 year. And that's the way that this works. Hold on one second. So what am I attempting to point to you here as I'm showing you this? Number one is that these fluctuations are normal in Bitcoin. That's number one. Number two, there is a lot of talk of Bitcoin being dead. How many times has been dead in the past? You can see it right there. It's right in front of you. And when it was the most dead was in 2016. It dropped 86%. 86%. Who wouldn't be freaking out? I mean, if you lose 86%, how would you lose it? Because you'd cash out. If you had let's say $10,000 in there, you'd lose 8,690 if you cashed out. That means you'd be left with $1,310. That would be insane. What do? If you notice that June 14th, right? All of a sudden, it flipped. It went back up. And you can see here how low it went from 1,163 to 152. And then it went back up to 1,350, so higher than it was here. And then it dropped 34% to 891. I forgot to show you these numbers. These numbers are very important. Everything in here is very important. What people don't know is that these charts, you need to be able to study them very well. Even if I did one video, as I tell people, and you study it, you will learn so much from these videos that it's immense, the amount of information that you can find. This needs to be studied over and over again because there's a lot in here. And until you become accustomed to it, you're not going to know what's going on. Look, this 2021, look when Elon Musk started his tweets. And although it was good for a moment, but he screwed everyone as he bailed out. And Dogecoin to this day is dead. I'm down because I made money. I waited till it dropped a good 30%. And then I thought that it was just like investing in stocks. And I went right back in and now it's dead. I'm almost, if I cash out right now, I'd be down completely all my earnings. And I'm not going to jump out. I'm going to wait because Doge is the coin of the people if people will continue to invest in it. Right now, nobody's investing it in general in that it's dead, just like everything else in the market. However, if there's a coin that has a chance to defeat Bitcoin, possibly could be Dogecoin, depending on if it has momentum, depending. And that's a big depend because it has no other value. And Doge could be a currency if the developers had created it to be that way. But up to this point, it's still yet waiting for that information. Do any of the members in the group have any questions before we continue? Okay. Now you can see up here that.
I should ask, David,
go ahead, Gina.
How do you feel about the trend right now with the Bitcoin? I know you said before that you were holding long term. Are you still, is that what you're still?
That's what I said, and that's what I will be showing you with the chart. Let me go back to the other chart so that you can see it again. Hold on. Down here. Give me a second. Share. Where are you? Here we go. Can you see this chart?
The reason I say that because it doesn't really have a lot of history, right?
Can you see the chart now?
Yeah. The first one you were showing us, right?
Yes, that's it. So Bitcoin has gone up and down many times. What I just showed you in the other chart is just a chart that shows you every time it's dropped, but it catches up. If you were to go back and look and study the other picture, which has much more information than this, you wouldn't need this chart. Well, you can see here that many times over, people have said Bitcoin's a bubble, and then it says it's dead. But what happens when it's dead? It goes right back up and above the previous high. And it's a bubble again, and it's dead. Bubble again, dead. Bubble again, and dead. And that's what it does. That's what Bitcoin is, deflationary. And that's why it convenes people like you and me. You can see here the high and the low prices for each year. The only time it didn't rise, I believe, was right here, 2020. It went to 12,000, which is high, and it just dropped 60% to 5,000. That was the only time that it didn't rise, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I had seen as I've been studying this. Yep. And then you can see that in 2021, it went to 64,000, and in 2021, November, went to 69,000. So there was a drop to 50% to where 31 is, and then 31,000, then it went back up to 69,000 in 2021. And that's the way it's happening now. With between May and June, there's a huge drop. There's a huge drop. Now, what has influenced this? Obviously, Bitcoin seems to be taking a parallel path to how the stock market is doing, number one. Number two is governments talk bad about Bitcoin. They're saying that it's horrible, that it's not worth to invest in, and so on. However, why has the government created USDC, United States Digital Coin? Why have they created it if Bitcoin is so horrible? Because they're attempting to get everybody to go digital so that they're able to track everybody's coin. There are plenty of ways that you can be tracked in crypto. Now, you have something that's called proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work, you should look it up, versus proof of stake. Proof of work should not be interesting to you because it just means that they want to know how you got to where you got that crypto. Proof of work. But proof of stake is how you purchased it, where you purchased it, how you're receiving it, where you're storing it, and so on, which is a normal process in the Bitcoin itself. And there's historical records being kept, a ledger that's being kept with somewhat private information and somewhat public information. All it shows is just a transaction. It doesn't show who it came from or where it came from. It just shows where the transaction is and what address, and that's it. Now, in reference to Saylor's Bitcoin for Everybody, it's a way of becoming aware that history is what makes these coins realistic. And I know I just said coins, but I meant to say Bitcoin. Why? Because crypto in general copies Bitcoin. It's basically copying their software and reproducing another coin. So the only original coin out there is Bitcoin. And obviously everybody else invests in the other ones, but it will only depend on whoever's in and out. What most people will do, whether it's stock or crypto, is just invest by buying in it and just forgetting about it. And that is the worst thing that you can do. That is the worst thing that you can do, is investing in the stock and forgetting about it. Investing in crypto or Bitcoin and forgetting about it. That's the worst thing you can do. As I tell people, when you get to 20%, 30% gains, you should be able to take profits. Don't let it ride to double, triple your money, because that is much more riskier than you think. Yes, you can see here that in 2020 to 2021, it went from 5,040 all the way to 64,000. Wonderful. Someone here made pretty good money, almost 13 times multiplied their money if they caught that at the bottom, which most people will not catch at the bottom. But if you understand how Bitcoin works, all it is that there's no government control, direct control in however you want to look at it yet. However, there will be taxes involved one way or another, and in transaction fees and so on. And in general, Bitcoin is an electric use of currency, which was a project that Benjamin Franklin, the Rockefellers, and a few others attempted to create electrical money because they knew that it was easier to be able to transport everywhere. They just didn't know how to do it. So this idea of Bitcoin has existed for well over a century. It's just that it has not been developed until the last 12 to 13 years. Any more questions before you end this session?
Yeah, I had a point. I was listening to one of these prominent quote unquote guys today who was talking about that the issue with Bitcoin is like the government might not accept it. You know, like some governments decided to outlaw it, and that government, according to government, they're the only one who have, authority to print money. You see? And so how do you address that when you hear someone say something like that? He was saying it's too risky for him because he felt, that the government would try to, like some countries already try to outlaw it. And that, in the end, they're going to say, we're the only one who can print money, nations and governments and so forth and so on, and give you a really difficult time on that. And they start to regulate it as well.
Well, number one, let's refer to Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Zambia. In those places, in order to get the dollar, you need to go to a place and have an auction on the dollar before you even get your money. People don't have access to money. This is in Zambia and Zimbabwe. In Venezuela, you don't have access to much currency. And unless you have a dollar, you won't be able to make transactions. However, because the fees are so high, you don't get your money instantly in some of these places. People have resolved to turn to crypto. And more places are accepting crypto, especially in South America and in South Africa. And it's going to keep growing from there. It's going to keep evolving. Maybe it's starting down at the bottom of the pole, but eventually you will note that a lot of places are starting to accept crypto. I mean, last week or 10 days ago, JP Morgan Chase said that Bitcoin will be their backup asset class, where I believe is what they said. And a major institution like JP Morgan Chase to say that is very powerful, because many millionaires, many hedge funds are turning to crypto because they're noting that the dollar has lost its value immensely. What does that mean? That in the last decade or so, the dollar has multiplied itself so many times over that it's devalued. No one really knows the value of the dollar anymore because it's been printed so many times. We don't even know its actual rate of inflation now because of the amount of printing that's going on. And they're still attempting to print more. And that is the reality why Bitcoin will become a coin of demand because of what's going on with the dollar worldwide. People are getting fed up that their value is decreasing overnight because of this printing process that's going on.